Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Jake, and today I will be teaching you guys how to dial your scooter from something like this to something like this. So pretty solid and quiet. Some of the tools that you will or may need to dial your scooter will consist of Allen wrenches, nut drivers, so something like this that you might have for your back axle, a socket wrench, which basically does the same thing as the nut driver for your back or front axle even. Some new bearings. These were the tilt 6 shooters. I already have them in my wheels, but yeah, you might need a new set of bearings after a while because obviously over time bearings do get rattly and they could explode even. So yeah, these are good bearings, the tilt 6 shooters. They're very durable. They ride fast and smooth. So yeah, good bearings. You may need a headset spacer, so that thing in between the headset cap and the SCS right there. And last but not least, you might need some various washers, such as the ones I have in the back of my deck here as extra spacing. TSI decks do come with the washers, but as you can see in between the deck there and the axle, there's a washer. And same with this side. So yeah, you might need some of that to fill up some space and get it dialed. After you've gathered all your materials and tools that you need to dial your scooter, as you can see, I've got all mine right here. You can get started. So let's do it. Alright guys, so what I like to do when I start dialing my scooter is I like to start with the headset and tighten that up first. So I have an SCS clamp and I'm going to loosen it up really quick and I'll be back when I got it all loosened. Alright, I got all the bolts loose now, and after that you want to pull your bars off. Mine are pretty easy to take off. For some of you, you might need to actually stretch the top part of the clamp to make some room so you can actually pull the bars out. I know some of my older scooters it was really hard to pull the bars out and I had to do that. But anyways, let me walk over real quick and show you something. To get my scooter a little bit more dialed, I had to put some extra washers in between the compression cap and the bolt. So yeah, that's something that's a little tip you could do to make it a little bit more dialed if you need some more room. And mine's a 5mm, and you can go ahead and tighten that up. But mine's pretty good right now. Make sure the clamps all align with the wheel. If I just try to spin my wheel, it's pretty damn tight, but like once the bars are back on, you'll have more leverage obviously, so it should be alright. And I like riding my bars a little bit tight anyways, so headset's good. After the headset, I like to move on to the wheels. My front axle is the F5 axle system by Tilt, and those are two 5mm wrenches, or two 5mm bolts. So what I'll do, it's kind of a weird position, but you could use one on one side and another Allen wrench on the other side. And I think my front axle is alright too, but we could just check that out. You want to like tighten it until there's no play in the wheel. And by that I mean just like rocking back and forth. Same thing for the back. Since I have a TSI deck, I don't need the nut driver that I showed you. I'm just showing you guys for an example if you might need one for your back end. But for my TSI deck, I just need one 6mm wrench, and I need to tighten that up. And I tightened these up a little bit before I started this part of the video, so mine should be alright. It's kind of hard to hand tighten, so what I like to do is I'll take like, here I'll show you for example, is I have an Allen wrench thing that looks like this that you put the Allen wrenches in. So what I'll do is for leverage, I'll put it in one of the holes and I'll just tighten that, but mine's pretty tight and I don't need to do that. But if there's no play, you're good to go. It'll be pretty dialed when you put it all back together. So right now I think mine should be pretty good. One more thing you could look at is the brake. Mine is pretty set, but like if you have a complete scooter that you bought off a website, these bolts may not be showing. I'm not really sure. This one isn't, there's no bolt there, but you might actually have to cut your grip tape to find the Allen head, but sometimes your brakes can get really loose. Mine's pretty tight at the moment, but you might have to tighten that up with an Allen wrench. And on the bottom there's usually a bolt which you can use a nut driver for or a socket wrench. Now after you've done all of that, we're pretty much ready to put this thing back together. So I'm going to go ahead and throw the bars back on and I'll be back in a second. Alright guys, so now that we got everything nice and tight and ready to go, we are ready to do our drop test. As you can tell, a lot more quiet sounding than the beginning, a lot more solid. A couple things that I didn't talk about while dialing my scooter, which I mentioned in the materials, were the headset spacers, for one thing. If you do have an SCS clamp, you may need a headset spacer if your bolt is a little bit too long and you can't get it tight enough to where your scooter's being dialed. You might need to throw a headset spacer in there, or if your fork's a bit too long too, that could also do it. And the other thing was the bearings. If you're tightening your axles as much as they can go and your wheel still has play in them, which obviously mine do not because they're fairly new bearings, but it could mean one of two things. It could be either your bearings are starting to blow up, or you may need a shorter axle. If your axle's a little bit too long, your wheel could be wiggling around in there on your back or front end. And some back ends, well, most back ends have spacers. The TSI decks do not, but your spacers could also be a little bit short, and that could make the wheel rock too. So you just want to check that out. Alrighty guys, so if you did all the steps that I just showed you, your scooter should be sounding a lot better. If it is, please leave me a like and a comment. Tell me if I did a good job. If I did not teach you good, or if your scooter isn't sounding good, you can leave me a dislike, or preferably a comment telling me what's wrong, and I will do my best to try and help you. I usually respond to comments pretty quickly. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Again, I hope I helped you out. So yeah, more how-tos coming soon, mostly trick stuff probably, but yeah, stay tuned. Thank you guys.
But I guess this is the